Why is it so zoomed in? I found the zoom button. Okay, so I've just got my hair cut and it never looks good on camera, but like it looks good in real life. So I am on a roll with YouTube / this is my second video, so does that really count as a roll? But what I really want to do is be better at YouTube in 2025, and that means making the video whether or not I feel like I look presentable, I've washed my hair, whatever, just prioritising the content. So I thought in this video it will probably be quite short and sweet, but I get a lot of questions about what I think about the retinol or retinoid sandwich method or the buffering method, because I guess one of the main reasons is that dermatologists make videos about this a lot, and I have personally noticed that the videos they make usually have a certain angle, and that angle is this is the best way to use a retinoid. But because I've worked in social media for a long time, I've made content for almost 3 years, but prior to that I've worked in social media for like 7 years. Sometimes I feel like, and this is just my hot take, sometimes I feel like I can tell when someone is making a video with a certain angle because they don't have many ideas left, or they're feeling a bit low on the ground and they basically want some views. You will notice the same people, dermatologist or not, make lots of videos that contradict themselves, and often it's because they've decided to die on a certain hill, aka like the retinoid sandwich method, just for a video. At least that's my theory, and without going off on a massive tangent, that doesn't make that person like a bad person, but it's just like the nuances that I feel I pick up being in both worlds of content, social, skincare. I feel like I notice these things. So what I would like to do in this video is clear up whether or not the retinoid sandwich method or the buffering method is the best thing, or what is the best thing? What should you be doing? And my answer is it's nuanced. It just depends on you, your skin, what works best for you, how the rest of your routine is structured, and I go into some details on that. So do I do the retinoid sandwich method or the buffer method? Have I ever done it before? Yes, I have done it before. I used to do the buffer method. So I'll start by going through what is the buffer and what is the sandwich. They're both similar principles, but the buffer method is where you use a moisturizer as a buffer layer before you put the retinoid on. The sandwich method is that with another layer of moisturizer over the top of the retinoid. So you've got like a sandwich where the retinoid's in the middle of 2 layers of moisturizer, and the buffer is simply a single layer of moisturizer with the retinoid on top. I used to do the buffer method. I've never really been interested in doing the sandwich method because it felt like overkill to me, and I've never had much redness or flakiness or dryness with retinoids to the extent that I felt I needed another layer of moisturizer. Of course, I felt dry from using retinoid. Flakiness has never been a symptom that I get personally. I know that a lot of people get that, but I guess just because whilst I have seen symptoms of purging and retinization and it being uncomfortable, I've never found it so uncomfortable that I wanted to put 2 layers of moisturizer on. And that might be because I also use a hydrating serum morning and night, and because I only cleanse my face once in the morning. And that is a good example of other things you can do in your routine to save from getting so many symptoms of using a retinoid. And that leads me on to this topic of, okay, well, there cannot be one best solution because everyone's routine is different, everyone's skin has different tolerances, and that means that you've got different levers to pull. If your skin is feeling dry, you can either add moisture, you can take away an active, or you can take away some cleansing, if you see what I mean. What I choose to do is not cleanse in the morning. That makes my skin less prone to dryness and less prone to irritation because my barrier is not being disturbed in the morning, which means that I can tolerate using 0.1% adapalene on my face, bare face, without any moisturizer, and I always have done. Then I wait 10 minutes and then I apply the serum and the moisturizer. Maybe you want to use an exfoliating cleanser in the morning, in which case you may need the sandwich method because you are taking away something in the morning, whereas in the morning I'm not taking away anything. And there isn't really a best way to do this, it's just about what suits you based on the things that I've said. When I did use the buffer method, the first couple of months that I used a retinoid, I didn't really enjoy it. So that's why when people ask me in comments, I will say, I didn't personally enjoy that, but it's not a wrong thing. I'm not saying nobody should do it, it's just not what I personally enjoyed. Sometimes people find for the first few months it's easier for them to tolerate the retinoid if they do the buffer method, and then after a while they stop using the buffer and they're fine with just using the retinoid on bare skin and then the moisturizer on top. And that's the same with the sandwich method, they're just 2 halves of the same coin. I personally saw the best results and still see the best results when I put my retinoid onto my dry bare skin. And I like to think that even though when you put moisturizer on before the retinoid, even though it's all still making its way into the skin, I just noticed better results when the product that I'm using to get results, aka the retinoid, has direct contact with my skin. I almost see it as an order of priority, and I am prioritizing the retinoid on my bare skin, allowing the retinoid to work exactly as it was supposed to without any interference from a moisturizer. And I say interference because moisturizers come in all different shapes and sizes. Lots of people use a moisturizer with fragrance, or a moisturizer with lots of essential oils, or a moisturizer with exfoliants and they don't realize it has exfoliants in it. And there are just thousands, if not millions, of different formulations of moisturizers, and I just prefer to put the product that I'm trying to get the most results out of directly onto the skin, so it can work on my skin with nothing else potentially interfering with it in between. That, along with the fact that I can tolerate using it on my bare skin, is the reason why I choose that. But if someone said to me, oh, I can't tolerate a retinoid unless I use the sandwich method, I would just say, that's so cool, like that's totally fine. And the same with the buffer method, they're not that different from each other. So if you're struggling on which to pick, honestly with skincare, sometimes the best thing you can do is pick one and just try it. People will spend ages hypothesizing on picking the best retinoid, like, oh, should I pick 0.1 or 0.15? That small difference is probably not going to make a huge difference. Obviously, if you're picking between 0.1% adapalene and like 0.2% retinol that you got from Primark, there is a big difference between those things. But so many people spend months trying to select the perfect routine without having tried anything first, and they put a lot of time and effort into it, and then they're very disappointed when they use the product and it doesn't seem to have worked as they'd hoped. Really, sometimes with retinoids, it's better to just pick one that's kind of in the middle and start using it. And if you find the irritation too much, then you can introduce a buffer. And even yet, if that's too much, you can introduce the sandwich method. Although I might suggest if it really is too much, you probably just try a weaker retinoid or lower the frequency of the retinoid. I'm not sure if I've done a great job of explaining this in this video because there are so many variables that change the outcome of what happens when you use the retinoid, like not washing in the morning versus cleansing in the morning, or cleansing with an exfoliating cleanser, or using a hydrating serum versus just using a retinoid and moisturizer and not having any other hydration in your routine. I'm not sure if I've done a great job of explaining this, but I would love to know feedback, because sometimes I just ad lib on a topic like this and I never know if at the end people are like, so what's the answer? I'm still confused. Or if they're like, oh good, okay, I got a lot from that. I don't know. I'm talking to a camera, I have no sense of feedback. But maybe I'll just upload this video as a bit of an experiment as I learn about how to get better at YouTube. And if people do enjoy this video, then I'll make more like this. And if people are like, I'm sorry, I don't have a fucking clue what you just said, then I will learn from this video and just understand that everyone is laughing at me.